Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Mark and Mark at the Midday. I'm obviously always joined by my cohort, Mark Littell, and we'll get to him in a second, but our special guest who I'd like to introduce is Dr. Lynn Miller, and I'd like to talk to her today, and so Mark wanted to talk to her today about OnlineSportsMentor.com. Dr. Miller, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm always looking forward to getting the word out and how we're kind of bringing an online component to traditional player development. So thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to have you, and it's probably one of the most talked about parts of the game over the last 15 or 20 years. But tell us a lot about how you got involved in this and how you've broken down the barriers in what's usually what we consider a very testosterone-driven world.
Yeah, I'm still working on that, but I'm making a lot of progress. So originally my background, I'm an elementary school principal, K-8, and originally from St. Louis, moved out here. So yeah, I knew about baseball, but I really didn't have any idea about this whole spring training or player development system at all. So I started off with kind of the old traditional boring way. I want a player to come and talk to my kids. Well, it didn't work out. I never got the player I wanted to at the time, but I started to meet some other folks. And I did get another player, and I started with Gary Hairston Jr., and back when he was with the Rangers. And so he came and talked to some kids, and we learned a little bit about his grandfather, who was the first African-American player with the White Sox in 1951, and some of the challenges he had. So that's kind of how it all started, basically with a face-to-face model. And then I started adding a component because I realized a lot of these guys, even though they're 15-year veterans, were afraid of talking to kids, even just one classroom of fourth graders. So I thought, okay. So it started off with a face-to-face, kind of a quick public speaking strategy workshop, and then I would take them to visit the schools. And as that kind of progressed, I got to know a lot more men in player development, and they were telling me a little bit about how there's some components of player development that are just neglected, and there isn't any training for coaches at all, and I thought that was kind of peculiar. So kind of along all this time, I left the principalship, and I started being an assistant professor at ASU and getting myself more acclimated to online learning. And just kind of bringing that whole concept and notion to player development, and we've got really kind of like a two-tier program, one for players and one for coaches. And it's kind of an innovative way. It's delivered in a private LinkedIn group. So it's kind of like a discussion board light, but there's still something to do every day. So there is a definite end product in player development as well as coach development that we offer.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about how my partner in crime over here got involved and started working with you, because I am all ears, and I think our listeners are all ears too, because they want to hear about this.
Yeah, so how that kind of about? I think we might have hooked up either on LinkedIn, or was it LinkedIn, Mark, or Facebook?
Yeah, it was one of the two, but we also both knew Ray Burris, and I saw Ray at the best scholarship fund meeting that we have. And matter of fact, I'm going there tomorrow to Pennsylvania, and I'll see Ray again. And then one thing led to another, and that's how we ended up hooking up about this. And so then we just kept talking, and I looked over some of the course structure that she had, and I had my thoughts on it, and we kind of intertwined those a little bit. And then since she's the professor and I just started writing, you got kind of a yin and a yang right here. So you've got somebody that is educated versus I've taken it to the field in between the lines. And so I've not done this, and I've not spoken about this for well over 40 years, actually, on as an organizational type thing that we're doing right now as far as getting the word out to the public and also to the college, the amateur player, the college player, and the professional as well.
So tell us how the courses would help, let's say, an average guy like me who coaches Little League and coaches travel, whether it be baseball or softball. a lot of us just learn by trial and error, and sometimes we pick up on the best coaches we had and we incorporate what they did, and we just try to make it happen. How does this make us better and keep us away from making the mistakes that the normal guy or gal might make?
Right, and that's a very good question, because that was kind of my aha when I started getting into this, is that I realized that the coaches had no training on how to coach or how to teach or effective instruction. And I saw some players, again, during spring training or throughout the year and summer league and whatnot, there's a variety of coaches and managers here that are instructing. And I would go see somebody who was highly effective at instruction, because that's what I do. That's my job. I evaluate instruction, and we need to know how to instruct. So I saw some coaches that were outstanding and some that weren't so much. And so then as I talked a little bit more about that, got some more information, then we realized that there was no instruction. And to me, that's the craziest thing. Well, you're a good student, now go be a good teacher, hope it works out. Or like you said, maybe you'll find somebody that can help you or mentor you. That's what we do in baseball. You were a good player, now go forth and coach. Hope it works out. So sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't work out quite as much. But there are some basic skills. We have kind of a different level of coursework too, kind of like beginning intro, such as someone like yourself, or more as myself, that has a heady experience at all coaching athletes. But just some of those basic skills that you need to learn, and how those can be turned around immediately to where you can actually apply them, because that's an issue too with adult learning. For example, we need to be able to apply it right away. It's not we're just going to write a paper about it and that was good.
Use it or lose it.
How can I actually?
I said use it or lose it.
Right.
Yeah, use it or lose it, absolutely. So, for example, with kind of an introductory, kind of a 101 coaching course, actually Mark and I just co-authored that not too long ago. And really it basically talks about developing foundational skills for effective player development, evaluation, team practices, managing equipment needs, and a little bit of the mental aspect as well. And so that's kind of what it covers in a short period of time. Now, our courses are a little bit different because they are for the busy person that's on the road all the time, on the move. So our courses are written to where they can actually be completed on a phone. The older folks like myself, we usually complete them on a laptop or a tablet, but the players that we teach complete them on their phone. So it's asynchronous. There's 21 consecutive lessons or exercises that someone teaches, so there's an actual instructor, such as Mark. So there's regular engagement with the instructor, but there's a little bit of flexibility in that you need about 20 minutes, 15, 20 per day to complete each exercise.
Excellent. I look at these type of courses and the things that you're doing, and I say to myself, why isn't there some sort of requirement or certification for somebody to be coaching our kids on the Little League level, the travel level, the high school level especially? I see so many folks out there who look like they're just flying by the seat of their pants, or there just because it's a payday or something like that. But something like this, why are there no requirements? Have we figured out why there isn't, or is it just so new?
I think that's coming. I think that's kind of coming to a head actually, because one, baseball with Little League or with the younger player, all the dads, all the moms, most of the moms want their kids to play. They play soccer, but baseball's in our gut right here. It's the American sport, and that's kind of what we're after. So they want to take them out to the baseball field. And so these fields are getting crowded, and so we're getting more and more players, but we're getting a lot of coaches that may have played the game, but think that they can coach it, and they actually want that information and need the information. So we have the availability right there now for the novice or the amateur coach to come in and be part of a forum, because in the 21 days, in the 20 minutes that you're on a day, it's not just me on there. There's other coaches on there. We have other coaches that actually will chime in, to float into a question and give his thought. It's not, where you're wrong, you're right, that kind of a thing. This is the way we're laying out a practice for you. Yes, there's many ways of laying out practices. This is one way. You can be creative, but you want to keep this busy for this hour and 45 minutes that you're on the field and that you have field usage. And, how do you talk to, how do you talk to the kid, because, there's so many variables in the aspect of, a 10-year-old versus a 37-year-old dad out there, two 37-year-old dads out there coaching, and all of a sudden, they've got to sell themselves. And one of the biggest things is it's okay to say, no, I don't know, but I'll find out. And I think that's a lot of mistakes with a lot of coaches. I mean, I'm 64 and I've been doing this ever since I was 18 years old. I mean, I don't know all the answers, and and if you lie, if you tell somebody that you know or you fudge it, those people know, they figure it out. Then you lose all credibility. So I mean, it's
and
okay.
The beauty of
what? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And the beauty of this platform too, Mark, is that, for example, how many coaches are in your league? So let's say the traveling league, for example.
I was going to say on our travel side that we probably come across about anywhere from about 8 to 12 in the travel league we play in, but we go to tournaments too and meet different people. But there's about 6 to 12 that I normally coach against on a regular basis.
Okay, so for example, say 12. So that would be a course. That would be a group that we would teach this particular course to, you and the 11 other coaches. Now, also the benefit of this is that this gives you a platform for a discussion. Normally you don't have that unless you're emailing or texting. So this kind of gives a structured discussion for some of those topics that you might be struggling with or want to delve in a little bit further. So it's an open forum in that regard, and it's idea sharing. So we're all learning from each other, and this is the way we can do it because we all have the phones all the time. So we don't need to sit together and have a meeting when it's hard to get everybody together in one room. This way we can.
Yeah.
So walk us through, let's look at the coaching fundamentals class, the one that's going to start on August 1st. So it's pretty close, so any of our listeners who hear it, they can jump on and register. But give us an idea of the syllabus of a course like that and what preparation has to take place before a course like that is able to be given to our coaches who are registered for it.
Okay, so basically all that we deliver it like I said, in a private LinkedIn group. So all you need is a LinkedIn account, and most adults that are working or professionals for sure, most have LinkedIn accounts. If they don't, then it's easy to create one. And it's free. So most of them either will have probably a Facebook or some other kind of group that they belong to, and that's if they haven't had any courses online. A lot of these parents have had courses online, so they already have an experience with online learning at some level, or their kids are taking online courses. So that's the kind of the foundation. Have a LinkedIn account, and then be familiar with working online. And then after that, as far as the course itself goes, the one that we have for coaches, that's really looking again on the fundamentals and kind of covering those things that just basically a new coach would need. And the content's taken again, it's not just like what Lynn or Mark thinks. It's what other people in player development and working or leading these kind of leagues or teams sees as an issue. For example, this course that we're just talking about right now, we work with someone else too to get these topics and kind of expand those. So typically, for example, one of the topics that is covered in this course is game strategy. Well, this is a one-time shot done the old-fashioned face-to-face way, where someone from the organization would talk about 15 minutes of game strategy. And then they would talk about player development for 30 minutes. And then they would talk about rules for 15 minutes. Well, then that's that. So we've kind of expanded that to where it's online now. So those are just kind of the broad, kind of an overview topic of the coaches as far as what they need just to kind of get by at the basics.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting.
Well, there's a lot that we can say on there because if somebody directs a question back that is, it's a little bit outside the box, we can, redirect it and go back to it, because that's the whole beauty of the thing. You're going to get people that are not in a room together, not wanting to say something yet on the computer, yet on the phone, the iPhone or whatever, I'll step up and talk, and that's fine. We want them to. And, that if you open up a lot more like that with the technology end of it, so that's a big deal. And,
I think the technology, especially since we're so used to social media, really does come into play, because a lot of us have questions and we just don't know who to ask those questions to. And then we ask them to people who we think know the answers, and they sometimes, like you said, they pretend to know the answers because they want you to think they know everything, and they don't help you. And then when you figure it out, they're kind of discredited. And so you want to be able to kick it around with the people who are in the know, but more importantly, know where to get the answer from, even if they don't have it.
Right. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And that's who we hire as our instructors, are those folks, current, former MILB, MLB coaches, players, something similar in that regard. But that's, it's just not hiring somebody to teach that hasn't had the experience. They have the experience from which to draw.
Yeah, this has been tested at the professional ranks, and we take hits from all 30 teams every single day. I mean, not one or two hits, many hits. So, we're talking to professional teams, and, Lynn's done this with the Twins coaches as well, their pitching coaches, and that speaks volumes right there. But, she's done probably a little bit over 4,000 people right now as far as, that she's touched their lives. And, I came into the picture, and, we're trying to make this thing a little bit better as we go, and we're getting the quality people to actually come online. The corporate people are even coming online and looking at this. That's the unique thing. It's just, actually, it's not for athletics. The corporate people like the idea of intertwining the athlete and the corporate world, actually, just a little bit here. So,
speaking from someone who's part of the corporate world, I can say that we do a lot of team building events, because we're individuals, but if we don't work together as a team, we're not strong, and we have to be there to help each other, and we all can't be experts on everything. And team building events are excellent pieces to the puzzle, and especially having professional coaching for us is a great thing too. Let's talk about some what we call, I guess, successes. Your time to brag, and let's talk about like teams or individuals. And if you want to name drop, that's great. But if you feel like that's something that has to be kept private, but just give us the scenario, everyone would love to hear that.
Yeah, perfect. I'd be happy to. So, how this let me give an example since Mark brought up the Twins. Same kind of thing. Eric Rasmussen, who's fabulous, is the pitching coordinator for the Twins. And he and I hooked up again online, and he started talking, and kind of was blowing it off. And I said, well, I'm just going to roll you in the course. So I did, made a believer out of him. It was a great course. In that particular course, players learned how to use social media as a professional, and the end product was a holiday greeting video, 1 minute holiday greeting, where they would share on their own social media sites, greeting their fans, thanking them for the good year, telling them where they're going to be next year. Eric did a tremendous video out of that. So that kind of made him a believer. And from that point on, then we were able to teach his pitching coaches 2 separate courses, one on increasing effective feedback, and the other one on adding a mentorship role. How do I do that? The beauty of that also, again, is that during the regular season, and we're all enrolled in it, and so everybody can communicate. So despite the fact that those pitching coaches are spread out across different states, as well as the coordinator, they're all in there, and they're all having an ongoing professional dialogue. So that was really a good success. They took 2 courses, and then one of the pitching coaches, actually 2, Virgil Vasquez, he's working with us now. We kind of tweaked the leadership course because that's a big component of any coach, but especially in player development, leadership. So we talked about that and made another course. And then there's another idea that another one of their coaches has, Sidney Bayo. He actually lives out here in the off season, one that's looking more at cross-cultural competency, because that is an issue in baseball, and just some of those just basic skills and as far as being, with that cross-cultural piece, because that's a multicultural sport. How do I engage with that? How do I promote it? How do I not just stay in the corner with my own folks? How do I, work with others and kind of build that relationship, like you said, that team? So that was a really good success story. And then as Mark was talking too about something else we do like a face-to-face program. The one I was talking to you about at the early stage. That's how I got all started in baseball originally. That's when we teach players a public speaking strategy and then take them out to visit schools. So we usually try to target high minority, high poverty, and they talk about their goals. So in that particular program, we've trained over close to 160 players, and they've seen over 4,000 students. So that's a lot.
The one thing that's gotten me into the whole course structure here is that back in 1972, I had Dr. Bill Harrison, and he has his series out called Slow the Game Down. You can go to the site called slowthegamedown.com. But Bill's helped and still works with some baseball teams, professional teams. And he got myself and George Brett together in 1972 of October, and by June 14th, I made my debut against the Baltimore Orioles. And so I went from A-ball to the big leagues in 9 months, and I didn't even go to big league camp. They wondered who the big guy was over there. Was he a new bat boy? He has a pimple on his face. He's the starting pitcher tomorrow against the Baltimore Orioles. So that was me. So I was 20. I was the youngest player in the big leagues with 24 teams at the time. So why did this redneck hick come out of nowhere and decide to use his ADD brain, which we didn't even know about? They just knew this guy's a little weird. And so why did he decide to, put his brain to use and with the physical part of his body and take it between the lines? And that's exactly what happened. So, a lot of people, a lot of coaches, they're coming like you were talking about coming out of the closet about the testosterone. Well, a lot of coaches are now starting to warm up after about 45 years of, the mental aspect of the game. They're now seeing that the younger group out here, the new millennials, the Generation X, they're starting to say, "Hey, I want more." Well, it's just not physical, is it? I said, no, it's not. Because a lot of people think, I've got really good stuff. Well, good stuff's not going to win you a ball game all the time either. So you've got to actually use your that 6 inches on your shoulders. And that's where it comes into play. You got to understand, and have a game plan before you walk between the lines. Actually, your game plan for, say, pitching a ball game the day before it starts actually the day before, to where you go over your hitters in a relaxed state, and that's part of the whole course of trying to get these kids, these players, to realize that there's a lot more to this game than the physical aspect. And a lot of players say, "Oh, yeah, I know about visualization." Oh, really? I've heard so many college coaches say that. Well, I've been in college books. As a matter of fact, I took a course one day, and the college professor came up to me and she said, "You're in this book," and I said, "No." And she said, "You know what it's about?" I said, "No, probably." And it was an UNSL. And so, she said, "Can you explain further?" And I said, "Sure." So I did after class. I explained it to her. And so, she said, "It's pretty amazing how you adapted." Well, I did adapt because I wanted to adapt. There's just a lot of people that don't want to adapt. They don't want to take it another step. So there's a lot of fear. There's a fear factor out there. I can guarantee you an athlete's scared. I'll guarantee you that one. And if they're not, they're lying. But there has to be a little bit of fear because you actually care about the ball game too. So there's some care.
For all our listeners out there, I just want to tell everyone we're talking with Dr. Lynn Miller, and we're talking about OnlineSportsMentor.com, which is her site, along with my cohort, Mr. Mark Littell, and we're discussing the courses and how this can help people, especially with the mental aspect of the game. Now, Dr. Miller, can I put you on the hot seat and give you a scenario, and maybe you can help me with this one?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, here we go. So I've got a travel team, and I've got a player who I would consider one of my better players, but this player gets down on themselves quite easy, but has a lot of talent, maybe even the most talent on the team. And sometimes I think we get over the hurdle and then we get right back to square one, where one bad thing leads to another bad thing, and then that person gets down. And because they're so respected for their skills on the team, it brings everybody else down. How do I fix that, or can I fix that?
Well, one of the ways you can do that is like through some positive reinforcement. And that could be even at the smallest thing, like if she's feeling down on something, if there's something small that she does that you notice, I would make an effort to recognize her. And again, it all depends on the scenario. That could be public recognition or it could be private. But when you're seeing her and you want to reinforce some self-correcting behaviors that she has, because as I'm hearing it correctly, you want her to get better at kind of self-correcting and bring herself back up. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Yeah, because I think that I'm not always going to be around there to do the correcting.
Right. So those are something, I would kind of maybe look around and see something that I could maybe talk to her about to try, or see when she does anything spontaneously. Like I'm sure there was a time recently when she did kind of bring herself back a little faster than she had in the past. So I would make sure that I comment on that was a great job. You really, got yourself back on track and everything. That's hard to do. I'm going to have to try what you did. So just something like that. So that way you can, she's seeing that reinforcement, and then she's able to learn, again, how to do that independently when you're not around, because that's your ultimate goal. Your ultimate goal is to send her off and do what you're helping her to do right now. Your ultimate goal is for her to do it by herself.
Yeah, because one day she's going to be playing for a college coach who isn't going to invest the time or effort that I'm investing.
That's right. So that's the ultimate goal, is to look at that too, and kind of bring that up, whatever her goal is. Whenever she does anything that is aligned to what you want her to do, getting herself back out, I would tell her how that helps her get to where she wants to be. By doing that, you're helping yourself get over there.
That is true. And thank you for that bit of advice. Coaches out there who are listening, you're not going to get the same free advice I'm getting right now. So my suggestion is you enroll in the course, and this way you've got the experts behind you, and they can help you out and stuff like that, because I think it's really worthwhile as coaches, because we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for the people we coach. That's why we do this.
Right.
So I'm going to kick this over back to you, Country, because we've been chatting for a while, and I know you got something you want to say.
Well, listen, I'm going to close this thing out, and I'm going to try to get a save here. And I've enjoyed Dr. Lynn Miller coming on. We're partners in this thing, and this thing's working, and we're getting some excellent response from people, really are. But as I said, I'm going to close it out. So as it goes, throw peas at the knees, no pies in the eyes, no wall balls, and you'll be just fine.
Take care, everyone.
Lynn.
Yes.
Still there?